This past weekend, you opened up Conference USA play in Marshall. Team played pretty well, did not shoot the basketball well, and ultimately that's why we end up with the split.
Yeah, I think overall pleased with our effort, and obviously on the defensive end, we met almost every defensive goal we had for our individual game goals, both games, and we hold them to 51 in overtime and get a win on the road, and then held them to 61 in day two, and with a quick turnaround, and just didn't shoot the ball very well. And you go back and you evaluate, did we get good shots? Are the right people taking shots? We took care of the basketball, only turned it over 12 times on Friday, 13 on Saturday, so that was good for this group. Shot great from the free throw line, got plenty of open looks, had 38 offensive rebounds in 2 games. We just got to be able to knock down some shots, and I think those will fall. I think it was good to see Razel get going on Saturday and be able to knock down some of those shots. And it's just, we've got to continue to fight for good shots, and we just had a couple of spells where we would maybe took some bad shots or forced some things, just trying to make some things happen when we weren't getting to the free throw line.
Questions? All right, go ahead, Bo.
Brooke, just talk about the conference format, the scheduling format, and what does that do for you as far as coaching style and that kind of thing? Does it make it easier, harder? How does that affect the team?
Well, there are a couple of things that I really liked about it. You're only preparing for one opponent as opposed to 2 with a quick turnaround. So I think from a scouting standpoint and an advanced scout standpoint, we've involved our whole staff on every single scout, as opposed to in the past we'd go, split scouts up by, assistant coaches, and then we'd, get together and formulate our plan. But now I'm having everybody do certain parts of each scout, and so I think everybody has to know what's going on. What are our adjustments when they do this after game 1? What are we going to go to when this happens? And so I think our planning and our advanced scout stuff is very helpful. The interesting thing for me, I love the fact that we're not leaving on a Wednesday and coming home on a Sunday or late Saturday night. Our players aren't going to miss as much class as we would in the past. It's a quick turnaround, and I think you're going to see across the board, across the league, the tougher, more experienced teams that can fight through some adversity, maybe on day 2. Those are the teams that are going to, really be able to withstand the, 9 straight weeks of it.
Corey?
And to follow up with that, Brooke, from an in-game strategy and schematic perspective, do you try to implement some different or some things that maybe you haven't really shown on film a whole lot, say in that second game versus game 1, or is it a situation where, look, we're just who we are, we're going to do what we're doing?
Well, I think, I think you're still early in conference play, obviously early in the season. We've played 8 games now, but a lot of teams, we'd played Marshall, who'd only played 2 games before we played them. And so, honestly, I felt like, I'm not a football coach, obviously, but I felt like we were preparing for a bowl game where the other team had a month to prepare for us and had watched all of our games, and they got people back that hadn't even played this year. And so for us, it was a little bit weird. We felt like we knew, based off history and who their players were and what we'd seen, we felt like we had a good idea what they were going to do, and they pretty much held true to that. But as far as in-game stuff, you're just trying to go out and win that current game. I think you can get tricky with it and go, oh, well, we got to do this and we're going to do this on day 2. Like, we're just trying to be in the moment and win that game. Now, I think we've got to be smart about, getting certain players breaks around media timeouts and just conserving energy in some ways. But, we're playing 18 to 22-year-old young women who have a lot of energy and are healthy, and they want to play. They've really fought hard for this opportunity, and for us as coaches, we've just got to continue to put them in the best position that we can. And if that's going, changing defenses out of a timeout and that stuff we've done all year. So we're not going to stray from who we are. If there's something that we feel like we can take advantage of or exploit, then yeah, we'll go after that. But we're not going to be one of these teams that changes from game to game on what we're doing. I think you've got to be, in order to be really good at what you do, and I think that's helped us defensively. If you look at our defensive numbers and our rebounding numbers as opposed to at this point last year, we've been more consistent, and I think we've been overall a lot better because we've tried to stick with what we've done and worked on and just really gotten after it and tried to get them to focus on, the energy and the effort and the playing hard aspect of it instead of trying to be tricky and do too much. If you do too much, they're not really good at any one thing. And so we've tried to focus on that defensively, and I think it's simplified it and it's helped them a lot.
McKay?
Yeah, looking back at that first matchup with Marshall, the happier one, day one, watching your team, rally and win in overtime, what does that say about the character of this group, the fight that they have, and how that makes you feel as a coach?
Yeah, I think they care for each other. They're really fighting for each other. I think anytime you go on the road, you're going to face adversity because you're not sleeping in your own bed. It's just a lot of different things. You're on another team's home court. You don't shoot in that gym every day. And they faced a little adversity. We've had some close games this year, and they've been able to execute and finish those out. And I think that experience has helped. When you've got players and seniors like Razel and Amber Dixon who've have a lot of game experience, and they had a lot of those moments last year where it didn't go our way, and we lost. I mean, Malcolm can tell you, I've got to go back and look, but probably 7 games by 1 possession. And as a coach, that's frustrating. But we've been in those situations early, and it may not have been a 1-possession game, but there were some tight moments where when we had to have a stop, they got one, and when we had to have a score, they were able to execute and get that. And so I love that. I love the fact that they care for one another and that they're really pulling hard for one another. This is a very selfless team. They really get along well. They've got great chemistry, and I think it's something that started with them about the last 3 to 4 weeks of the regular season last year and into the postseason. And then during the quarantine of just time we spent together on Zoom, and then when they got back in the summer they've spent a lot of time together, but this group genuinely likes each other, and I think that really helps. But I love that. We got down 17 on Saturday and came back and cut it to 1 and had multiple chances to take the lead, with, about 2.5 minutes to go, and just couldn't finish it off. So I appreciate that. They understand that when you have moments in games where there are runs that are made, you've got to answer those runs. And I think that's something that hopefully this team can hang its hat on, and how we define playing hard and what that looks like.
Brooke, expound a little bit. You mentioned the fact that you like the fact that you're going out there on a Thursday, you're coming back on a Saturday. In the past, road trips would include 5 days, and you get back and you'd have a couple of days, and you'd be playing again. Now you've got more days that you're not traveling, you're not playing. So from a coaching perspective, how are you guys utilizing those extra days?
Well, we'll take Sunday off. I like to have, a Sunday off where it's a true day off for a student athlete, and they don't have to go to class, so they don't have to, have any sort of training or basketball activities. So we took Sunday off, and then Mondays we're using as developmental days, and our younger players that maybe haven't gotten as many game reps, and especially last weekend, we got some really good development time with them on the defensive end of the floor, and then we were able to have them play against our scout guys for a quarter yesterday, and live game experience, and that was really good for them. And so just getting the reps, because I think what we're going to see over time, and this is something we've stressed to our group since we started, we never know who's going to be available, and everybody has to understand their importance and their role on the team, and has to be ready to step up. Typically in the past you can say that from an injury perspective, but now we could just be out for contact tracing or a positive test, and so they've got to be ready mentally and physically, and so we've got to get them that experience and continue to bring them along and continue to get that development for them. And then we spent some players that maybe played a lot of minutes over the weekend, we used that kind of as an active recovery day and just did some individual development and shooting time with them and worked on some specific things, but not physically, beating their bodies up or, having them on their feet a lot, and then got a good lift in. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, we prepare, for our weekend matchup, and then Thursday's more of wrap up everything. We won't spend as much time, but we're going to be focused on, our opponent and what's going to happen for the weekend.
Go ahead, Corey.
Brooke, Western Kentucky's coming up. Traditionally, a team that's been, kind of at the top, Conference USA. Just talk about the challenges. What's different about this Hilltopper team that you guys have grown accustomed to seeing and facing in the past? And do you feel like there's a really good opportunity here to get a couple of wins at home?
Yeah, I think the biggest difference is they lost a lot of experience. They lost a lot of scoring from last year's team. And if you look at both games we played last year, we had leads and had chances to win. And then in critical moments with about, we got a 1-point game last year under a minute and couldn't get a stop, or we had a 1-point lead, couldn't get a stop, and then had needed to come down and score and couldn't, and that was on the road. They were undefeated at home, and they were looking at an at-large bid in the NCAA tournament heading into the conference tournament last year with their RPI, what it was. But we had a chance to win both of those last year, and at critical times, their studs took over. And they were seniors, they were experienced players, whether that was Whitney Creech getting to the free throw line, or Dee Givens hitting a tough pull-up jumper, or the previous year, Tasia Brown making critical plays. And so those players are gone. They're very talented. I think they're just young. And they've been playing without Raneem El-Jadaway. They're 20 and 10 all-conference player, is probably one of the best players. Not probably, she is one of the top players in Conference USA, and I think one of the best post players in terms of her ability to score the basketball and what she does to a defense and how she opens things up for the rest of her teammates. They've been without her this whole time. Well, we found out last night that she's back on campus, so I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see her on Saturday. So we'll be prepared for her, and again, it's a different supporting cast around her, but they still have Abdel Gawad on the perimeter. She'll play the 4 for them some. There's a great rebounder and just an experienced guard. So we feel like we've got to protect our home court and be who we are, and we've got to take care of the basketball. And really, I think if we knock down some open shots, we'll be fine, and we're capable of doing that. We've got to continue to get good shots and then see that ball go in the net. And then we've got to do a great job defensively and keep them off the glass.
Brooke, talk a little bit about Amber Dixon. What she's been able to do. Obviously, all conference preseason, been known for her scoring, but this year, all of a sudden, she's averaging almost 8 rebounds a game and 3 straight games of double-digit rebounds when she had never done that in the first 94 games of her career. How have you seen her as a senior kind of mold and improve her game?
Well, I think she's just more mature. I think that she's gotten a little bit better in some different areas of her game every year. And last year, I think what you see with Amber is she typically does what is needed of her and is very unassuming. She's not a loud player. You look up and she has a double-double, and not that you didn't notice her, but it's very quiet, and she just goes about her business. And just knowing that coming into the year we were going to have to try to find some rebounds from some other player. Obviously Grayson graduated and she was a pretty good rebounder for us at the 4, but overall we needed to get our guards rebounding a little bit better. Amber's played anywhere from the 1 through the 4 for us this season and has been willing to do that, and I think that's what a senior does. She just wants to win, and I think she is excited about however she can help the team. If I would like for her to shoot the ball a little bit more, and she's been a little bit selfless in that, and we need her to be a little more selfish, and we've got to find some more good shots for her too. But just knowing that we needed that void filled from a rebounding perspective, she stepped right into that role and has done a great job with it. I was giving her a hard time yesterday. I said, if we get you crashing the boards offensively and you get 3 or 4 a game on that, you might be double-figure rebounder. And she started laughing, so I wouldn't be surprised if she doesn't get a few of those this weekend. But she's just been steady for us. Got off to a little bit of slow start coming out of quarantine and from the summer and just the stay at home and getting back into shape and just getting their bodies back in. But I think as we got towards the end of the fall quarter, from when class ended and we were gearing up for games, she's really started to come along. And I think some of that too is just that unknown of, are we going to play? When are we going to play? What does that look like? And just being able to lock in when we finally got that date of going, okay, this is when we're playing, it's for real, and I'm ready to go. So been very proud of her and her effort on the glass for us, and we need her to continue to do that.